Hello there. Welcome to my video. If you've never seen my face before, my name is Andrea. I tend to make videos about mindfulness and just sharing vulnerable moments. That's why I call this a video diary series, because this all started from a really traumatic moment. And when I say traumatic, I'm defining that as, when there's an event in our lives in which that specific event transformed us in some way and made us change our mentality, our lifestyle. We resonate with that moment. That's a traumatic moment. Based off of that definition, that would be considered a traumatic event. And that was like, I'm not gonna lie, it was a hard thing, it was a painful thing, but it was such a necessary thing to happen in my life. And so as I come out today of like spending the day alone, and I journaled a little bit and I was feeling kind of nostalgic thinking about this time of the year. It's the beginning of fall. I was like in the midst. I was like in the midst of all of the pain this time last year. This time last year, I was like, who am I? Who am I without a man? Who am I after enduring all of those physical things like a miscarriage and a pregnancy? Uh, who am I in this world? So, and who do I want to be? Who do I no longer want to be? And I was reading back on a journal entry from June 28th, 2023, and three things stuck out to me. Number one, the amount of anxiety that I felt. I was adamant that I wanted to be better, that I wanted to be kinder, but more so that I wanted to be less anxious. I said, I want to be more kind. I want to be more patient. I want to be less anxious. And then number two, I talked about how I didn't feel holy enough. I was a youth minister for 2 years. I've always been involved with youth group and religion. I don't think I was mentally prepared to be in a leadership position in that way because I didn't understand how to live a normal life while being in that role. Something that changed my life that I heard from like a spiritual guide last year. There's always been this pressure, I think, in not just Catholicism, but Hispanic households of living a very particular way so that you are a pure and good person. And a part of me has always questioned that, but I didn't necessarily have the answers, especially for myself. And so I didn't know how I was supposed to live out my life and still be happy and still be obedient and still be a good person and yada yada yada. So there was that um, pressure of like being a certain way so that I could be holy enough. And what my spiritual guide said to me, or a group of us, she said, gracia is important. Grace is a gift of God. It's the ability to have a relationship with God. It's the ability to be forgiven and also forgive yourself and forgive others. It's the ability to love. It is love. But you will never be holy enough. There is nothing that you can do on earth today so that you can become a saint. She said sanctification occurs in heaven. Sanctification occurs when you are no longer here on this earth, because this earth and what we are today, where we are now as a society, right? This isn't the place where we can be the holiest of holy and like saints. We can try to love, and we can try to be obedient, of course, and we can feed that relationship with Christ, but there is nothing that you can do. And I guess if you're watching this video and you're like, okay, well, I'm not a Christian, this doesn't really apply to me, or I'm not religious, this doesn't really apply to me, I guess this is kind of a way of saying that there is nothing that you can do that's going to make you perfect and that's going to make you the best person, the goodest, the nicest, the kindest, the most pure and innocent person on earth. In fact, that's not even the goal. I think that the goal is simply to love. I think to genuinely love and to genuinely try to be a good person is to recognize that you will never be the most perfect person on earth. There is nothing that you can do or say or practice or believe, but you can try. You can try to love. You can try to hold yourself accountable to the pain that you caused, and to no longer repeat certain mistakes. And that's all we can do. And that's all I've been trying to do. And 2023, I talked a lot about how anxiety not feeling good enough, not feeling holy enough, that really controlled my life. And I think that I'm proud of her because she was fighting regardless of not having the tools or the skills or the understanding of life. I mean, at how old was I in 2023? I was like, I was 21, freshly 21. I'm not gonna know shit at 21, man. If you are 21 and watching this, you're not gonna. You truly, there's so much more to learn. I'm not here to say like you don't know anything, but there's a lot to learn, and I learned a lot, and I'm really proud of her that even though she had a limited skill set and knowledge, I also wrote in that entry, I want to be kinder, I want to be more humble, I want to be more patient. I had these traits that I knew were good for me as an individual, traits that I knew I didn't really have but would be beneficial. And it wasn't until I got put into a really difficult position that I was able to practice those traits, where I was just kind of forced to see, is this going to be me or not? And I'm very glad, proud that I decided, those traits are going to be a part of me, and there are things that I'm going to have to put in practice, and you can only put those things in practice in really difficult positions, right? As a Christian, I believe, you ask for patience, God's going to put you in a position where you're going to have to practice in patience, right? I'm very proud of her. I think the biggest thing, though, that I really took away from this entry was my limited skill set that I had. The reason that anxiety, not feeling good enough, not feeling holy enough, the self-deprecation type of mentality really controlled my life, because I was unaware that judgment, shame specifically controlled every single aspect of who I thought that I was, who I tried to be, and who I used to be. Shame was the absolute little voice controlling how I viewed myself, how I viewed the world, how I viewed my place in the world. And it was a cycle. There's no getting out of shame if every single thought that you have is just not good enough, not holy enough, not feminine enough, not kind enough. You will never reach a level of satisfaction. And I guess it's not to say that there needs to be an end to how much you can grow as a person and who you should be. But there should be a point in which you can look back and say, okay, I've grown. Okay, I'm proud. Okay, I'm happy. Okay, I would like to do that thing again, practice that trait again, be that type of person. You should come to a point where you can be proud of yourself and you can walk with your head high and your heart full. And I'm really glad to say that I'm at that point. But it took that recognition, that awareness that, oh, everything that I think and everything that I do is driven by shame. That can be, religious shame. That could be like cultural shame, whatever that was at least a mix of mine. After you recognize that, because it's one thing to recognize it, but it's like, okay, what do I do with it now? So what I did with it was then I went back to the basics. Okay, what are my values? Okay, these are my values, XYZ. I want to prioritize XYZ. I think this way. And then understanding your values. Where do my values come from? Are they imposed on me? Or do I truly believe this? And I wouldn't say that values imposed on you are necessarily bad, so long as you actually agree and align with them. Because that's just how we are as individuals, as humans, is that we learn from other humans what is right and what is wrong. But we get to decide, is that going to stick with me? Is that going to stick with who I want to be and how I want to think, how I want to treat myself, how I want to treat others? And that's what I had to do to kind of work through my shame. Shame is a part of who we are. And shame is also the reason that we're able to feel sorry when we do things that are bad, when we cause pain. So I'm not here to say, get rid of all your shame and just never feel guilty about anything, which I guess guilt and shame are not the same thing. But it is important to feel bad sometimes. Shame lets us know that we aren't at a place that we should be or the person that we should be. And I feel like as long as you understand what your values are and what type of person you want to be first, then you can engage with shame and decipher and discern, where do I want to go from here? But until, you have some kind of awareness of who you really are for real, who are you right now? Who would you like to be? Who have you been? I wouldn't really engage with shame. Kind of get one thing clear before the other. At least that's what was really helpful to me. And I think what made it really overwhelming was that I try to tackle everything all at once. It's like, okay, well, I think these things are good, even though some people would say otherwise. But then other people are going to say that they're bad, or I'm not going to be a good Christian, or I'm not going to be a good daughter. And so then how do I tackle that? And I was trying to tackle it all at the same time through every direction. And it's too many voices. It's way too many voices. And I guess I'm not necessarily here to tell you how to do things, in what way, for what reason. But that's what I did because I had to. I was put in a position where I was forced to understand, what type of person have I been that I caused pain to another? What type of person have I been that I've caused pain to myself? And what kind of person do I want to be while processing the pain that somebody put onto me? And it's been really helpful. I think that I'm finally at a point where I can walk proudly, understanding who I am, also understanding that I'm not going to be the same person in a year and in 2 years, but that I at least want to follow this good alignment of values so that I don't stray too far off and I don't lose my shit completely. I cannot. Mike died. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video, hopefully, maybe, I hope. I love you and I love me. Okay, bye.